I'm Anne-Marie McQueen, journalist and proud 50-ish woman, and we are here looking for the true truth in perimenopause, menopause, midlife, and beyond.
Opening our minds to other possibilities is not always easy.
Hot Flash Inc.
You're all woman to me. All right, Anne-Marie.
Hi, welcome to the Hot Flashing Podcast. I'm your host, Anne-Marie McQueen. Today, I'm speaking with Jen Jefferies, a naturopath with 30 years of experience. She's 64 years old. She lives in the Gold Coast in Australia, surfs, gardens, lives a kick-ass life, and exudes more energy and enthusiasm than most people decades younger. She's a real guide for me. And I came across her on Instagram through her account, The Present Day Wise Woman. And I hope that you follow her. I hope you listen to what she's saying. And if it doesn't jive with what you've been hearing in the mainstream menopause realm, just know that as we speak about, Jen was a pharmaceutical rep. She's very well versed in that space. And then when she had her own burnout, she went and re-educated and learned, she's going to explain all of how that transformed her view. This is another way to look at it. And it's a really sort of easy way to get into it. I hope you enjoy.
Has your doctor told you that you're too young for perimenopause, but you know you just don't feel like yourself? You are not alone. Perimenopause can start earlier than you think. That's why Menolabs is here, to support you with a range of products and the information you need to confidently speak up and get the care you deserve. They also offer science-backed products like their bestseller, MenoFit, a probiotic designed to help relieve symptoms like hot flashes and night sweats and more, all while supporting your overall health and wellness. Don't settle for less. Visit Menolabs and get the support you need today. Right now, they're offering our Hot Flash Inc. listeners 20% off using code HOTFLASH20 at menolabs.com. Now for the small print, this statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
I came to you through Instagram, and I love social media for introducing me to people like you. And you have been a breath of fresh air to me in this really chaotic, often very negative and fear-mongering menopause and perimenopause conversation, very medicalized. And I gravitated to you because you're a little bit older and I don't have older women in my life. And I feel I'm getting so much steadier as I get older, and I can see it. Like, you just exude it. And so I wanted to thank you for just like your little snippets of just solidity and common sense and wisdom, just modern wisdom.
Thank you. Well, I think it's I see aging as a woman as actually a huge responsibility to be there for the other women who are coming through. I didn't find those role models when I was younger, and I always promised myself that I'd be there, for any woman coming through to help them navigate. I think that's the role. The old role of the crone got lost, and I think it's so important to our community and culture that we have the wise women ahead of us. I have wise women ahead of me who help me. Yeah. So I think it's part of I see it as an important role in my life.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing that you feel that sort of calling. Okay. We were exchanging a few voice notes before we talked, and you said you only get a crappy perimenopause because.
You only get a crappy menopause because you arrive at this point adrenally tired. So I'm a naturopath, so a natural Western doctor. However, I also have a lot of traditional Chinese medicine thinking training in my work. And we say you're born with a certain amount of qi. When you run out of qi, you die. The qi, our life force, lives in our adrenal glands. And we're meant to spend a bit of adrenal energy every day, put it back, spend it, put it back. All right. The reality is, when we start coming to this, I'm 63, about to turn 64. When I was 49, my period just stopped and I kept going. And that's exactly what it's meant to be like. But in my 20s, I burned out my adrenal glands, working in the pharmacy industry, the craziness of the 1980s in business. And it was through natural therapies I got well. Met a great naturopath, got me on track. And I looked after my adrenals since. sense. I understood that was the core to life. And so when I hit the natural transition, which is your ovaries, shrink, all that kind of stuff, your adrenals are meant to still produce progesterone. Your androgens still do the thing. And so if that can't happen because your adrenals are tired, because you've been pumping out the cortisol too much, that's when we get a crappy period, a crappy menopause. And so crappy perimenopause, crappy menopause, postmenopause. Menopause is actually just technically one day, a year after we stop bleeding. It's the celebration day. It's 100% preventable. It's a natural thing, and it's meant to be can bleed, can't bleed, can breed, can't breed. It's a natural transition, except women approach this time adrenally tired. And I would have too, if I hadn't burned out at a young age and then been living from a place of prevention, knowing this was going to come and just looking after myself.
So
sorry, long answer.
No, not like amazing answer. Okay, so you understand that this is diametrically opposed to the mainstream medical view of what perimenopause and menopause is. So you must get it in the neck, because their approach, and I had a doctor saying recently on the podcast, it's estrogen deficiency that is correct, that needs to be corrected. It's
That's what drives me.
Person per certain point in your life.
It drives me crazy.
Okay, yeah. That's really the view. That's, if we boiled it right down, it's you have an you make estrogen to a certain point, and then you don't, and then you're a mess because you're not making it the way you were.
But we're not meant to. I'm not meant to have estrogen at this age. I am not. That's the normal thing, and the whole story about, hey, do the estrogen to have a healthy heart and strong bones. Well, for fuck's sake, do your exercise, eat healthy, and have a healthy heart. And I'm sorry, I swore. I'm very Aussie.
Swear. It's okay.
But it's like that none of that stacks up for me. But the thing is, if we're meant to go through this time. So when we start running out of eggs, which is what's meant to happen, our ovaries shrivel up. We start getting, see the lines on my top lip? Mm-hmm. It's called excess kidney yin. Now, women go and get it all injected and that to look beautiful. However, it's a natural sign of the fact that I'm barren. I'm barren. And so, but if you see those lines on a woman's top lip, don't walk up to her in the supermarket and go, oh, you're barren. Doesn't go. So it's a natural progression that as we run out of eggs, our ovaries shrivel up, the estrogen production slows to stop. It's normal. Like I said, our adrenals are meant to still carry on producing a bit of progesterone. That's what's meant to happen, which means that it's an easy transition. But if we reach this point adrenally tired and can't have that happen, that's why we get all the shitty symptoms of menopause. And I saw a health professional the other day saying, well, we should just keep having estrogen. You don't have to age. It's like, but our body is meant to age. We can age really well without messing with our hormones. I find it interesting, the whole story of the after 5 years, breast cancers go up, and now they happen to be interestingly re-evaluating HRT studies to find the answers they want. I just find that interesting. And that studies nowadays are only kind of run up to 5 years because the problems seem to come after 5 years. And it's like, I think there's lots to it that as a naturopath, I know damn well, and I work with so many patients, women all around the world, that it doesn't have to be the horror, and it's a natural thing to embrace. And I am 60, about to turn 64, strong, fit and healthy, surf for sunrise every morning, hike, just like good luck keeping up with me energy-wise. And that's the way it's meant to be. And I do none of that artificial hormone shit. However, I really look after my adrenal glands.
Okay.
That's the difference.
Okay. We're going to get into the adrenal stuff. I just want to ask you, because I feel like I feel like some of these things are almost not okay to say now. Like you're saying them, but I feel like
I'm going to say I don't care. I know people, they're not saying it. It's like, no, I don't care if people do your own. What I say is do your own true due diligence before you stick anything in your body.
But that's becoming more and more difficult, like you said, because it's so muddled, and the reading of research. I mean, there are doctors confidently proclaiming that based on a study that they put behind them, that hormone therapy prevents dementia and hormone therapy and they're saying it like we know hormone and I feel like I'm screaming. We don't know that. We don't know.
No, we don't. And for dementia and things, I would rather be doing things like eating well 80% of the time, close to nature, making sure that I keep my lean muscle as I age by eating well and doing my weight-bearing exercise to make sure that I have enough muscle to pump the blood uphill to my brain. I'm more inclined to do things like that. So I know that's controversial because that's just free shit. It's not drug company dependent. And I'm not anti-drug company. I'm the most realistic naturopath on the planet. However, I don't like that so much research is being reinterpreted to suit the drugs that are out there on the market now. That's not cool. It's almost they're going, oh, if we change the parameters and make it, and I've seen it in the natural therapy world where they used to say, things like vitamin D, everyone used to take and were strong, fit, and healthy. Then all of a sudden they went, ooh, they fed. I remember when I was in pharmacy industry, even something like comfrey, which is an amazing herb, they fed lab rats 40 times their body weight of it, and they produce liver cancer cells. And they went, oh, humans can't have that. Well, I'm not going to sit here and eat 40 times my body weight of a bloody herb. So I think things can be interpreted certain ways, and someone's got to be honest about it. So I'm not anti-medical. I've worked in the pharmacy industry, but I'm very pro people doing their research. And it's hard to sift and sort and find the right answers nowadays, or the answers that are true. But look who does the studies.
Right. Look who does the studies.
See who funds the studies.
Okay. Well, you worked in the pharmaceutical industry. You have a very strong leg to stand on.
On both sides. Yeah. I'm a realistic naturopath. If someone needs bloody antibiotics, take them. And also take a really good quality tribiotic and something at the same time so that you're not messing up with your body long term. But I'm incredibly realistic. And I'm also about living from a place of prevention. I'm back in China next week lecturing, and up there they pay the doctors to stay well. If you get sick, you don't pay. Big difference. And so I've just come from my acupuncturist. I just had acupuncture. I'm going up there. I had a vitamin C and zinc infusion 2 days ago. I'm going to the middle of a tough winter for a couple of weeks. I'm prepping my body ready to go. I'm having raw garlic of a day to make sure that my blood's not thick and sticky and getting deep vein thrombosis on a long haul flight. It's actually pretty simple stuff to live from a place of prevention.
Right.
So I'd rather do that than get sick and then have to take something that's going to cause more problems. I remember, sorry, I might get on a soapbox about this. I worked in the pharmacy industry when I'm going back to the 80s, when the computer systems just first started coming in. And I remember being in the pharmacy, in the dispensary one day, and the pharmacist said, look at this. A woman was on 11 drugs because the first one had been prescribed wrong and had created a symptom. And the pharmacist could track it all because now the computers had a tracking system. So if that had been a different drug, the woman would not be on those 10 other drugs. And that stuff is still going on today. And doctors are busy. I get all that. I'm not anti-Western medicine. But why not people, why can't we take responsibility for our health and do things today to not wait to have a crappy menopause, to not wait to get sick?
Yeah, I say that here all the time. Be the CEO of your own health. That was an actual CEO said that, but it's I feel like our whole lives we sort of have, maybe some of us, I'm speaking about myself, have tried to shirk the responsibility of being us. And I don't know, it's if you've done that and you've passed it over to other people and ended up having all the resentments and irritation that comes from that, this is the time to accept that responsibility. And I have a great functional medicine, homeopathy specialist, gut specialist doctor. And she said people come with bags of drugs and they don't know one from the other. And what they have,
I just take them every day. Yeah.
So it's the first one, right? It's the first one you take and then, okay. Adrenals. Yeah. I am one of the people that had this balls to the wall, hit 41 and things fell apart. I never gave back. I just took So
Yeah.
can you walk us through this? Actually,
Yeah.
what happens?
Yeah. So my approach to everything is the BAM, the bare ass minimum. So I love to simplify complex health topics. So everything I'll give to you is simplified, because nowadays people think, oh, if I use big words, I'm more clever. Well, guess what? People are in overwhelm and doing nothing because you're trying to just sound clever. I'd rather simplify it and do the core basics, because we've got to have a strong foundation. That's the bottom line. So think about it this way. This is an easy visual. If you're a football player, you go out this week and you go and get hit in the game, and you get hurt, you go down, you get patched up, you get up again, you go out next week, you get hit again, you go down, you get up, get patched up. The next week, you go down, you get out, and then by the end of the season, you're screwed. So adrenal glands, cortisol and everything, it's actually cortisol is what gives us the energy to get out of bed of a day. But every time we have a little, too many emails, too much traffic, all the kids, all those things, we spike our cortisol. We get to the end of the day, it's too high. In Chinese medicine, we say that your adrenals recharge between 2 and 4 a.m. You wake up for a pee between 2 and 4 a.m., literally, because your kidneys are trying to take the stress off your heart, because your cortisol can't do its replenishing the way it's meant to. And so it's like we're getting those hits of a day, and it's not the big hits nowadays, it's the little hits. And so we're meant to be able, another visual, we've got an alkaline corridor. When we're in it, everything works. We're kicked in and out all day, every day. When we're in it, got all the energy, sleep, moods, weight, everything's great. We crave good food. When we're out, it's all the opposite of that. We care about how quick you bounce back. Okay, so your adrenal glands, you're meant to be able to have a stress, adapt to it, come back to center. We don't get the recovery time to come back to center. Same as I didn't. I remember I used to say in my 20s, oh, you sleep when you're dead. And I had a great time in the pharmacy industry. Oh my gosh, that was an interesting, I think it's still just as interesting, that field.
Yeah. The
way they wooed us to sell their drugs was crazy. And I bought into that game because that was making money for the company. But it's so the adrenals are meant to help us manage stress, have us be able to adapt to what's going on, have our body have the ability to stand and fight or get the heck out of there, and then have the time to recover. We don't get that nowadays. And so there's this thing called GAS. I talk about in my new book, General Adaptation Syndrome. When you first do it, when you hit stage 1, you're in that alarm stage. It's kind of like, what am I going to do? Stage 2, where it's going, all right, this is going a bit longer than I thought. And this is the classic, like people, you go on, you're coping at work, and then you go on holidays, and day 1 you get a cold or something to make you stop. That's stage 2. And then if you still don't get the recovery time, you progress to stage 3, general adaptation syndrome and exhaustion. And then it's just like, that's where I went to in my 20s. And the last 4 years in particular, we've seen people, initially, the world started to lock down, and everyone's kind of like, okay, what's going on? Alarm stage. Stage 2 came along because we all thought, oh, this will last for a few weeks or a few months. Well, 2.5, 3 years later, all of a sudden the governments went, holy shit, we're broke. Everyone needs to go back to work. And everyone went back to work, and their body didn't know how to catch up. And we're seeing that rise in mental health and everything tells me where people's bodies are. Their bodies are still trapped because the adrenals didn't get a chance to adapt. It went on for too long. We stayed in that crisis point for too long. If anything, we adapted to the fact that we were living in alarm mode, and which is just crazy. And we say in Chinese medicine that when cortisol is too high for too long, your gut's like a great big crock pot, a big hot pot, big boiling thing. And it dampens, it puts the fire out in your belly, and food stews instead of digesting. And so gut microbiome, everything goes out of whack. Now, nowadays, Western medicine finally, over just the last few years, has started to talk about the vagus nerve, which is what that action is. But Chinese medicine, they talk in pictures. And so there's this stress loop that when we're stressed, part 1, in stage 1, we cortisol rises. We crunch our neck. We go like, oh, you get your neck, you raise your shoulders, and you're like, oh, you're stressed. When we do that, we literally pinch the vagus nerve. Vagus nerve is the longest nerve, cranial nerve that runs down through our body, connects brain and gut, and it switches it off. So I'm really happy nowadays that they're talking about things like gut microbiome and replenishing your gut microbiome to feed your happy hormones, serotonin and dopamine. Most of your dopamine's made down there in your gut. However, if you're still not replenishing the adrenal glands, you're feeding the problem still. So there's Chinese medicine, the adrenals are the core of your being. And in naturopath, all we do is what's happening behind. Look at what's happening behind, start there, and then work the cascade of things where if you just, taking digestive enzymes because your food's stewing instead of digesting, or if you're just taking, a really good tribiotic or something, you're still not getting enough sleep to recharge your adrenals. Your adrenals need between 7 and 9 hours sleep a night. You're still not doing any of those things. You're still in survival mode. People are still stuck there like they are now. I swear most of the population's in stage 2 gas of general adaptation syndrome. And it's like, have you got gas? Most people have at the moment. It's crazy shit. And they're just suffering on now because they're trying to recover the income lost and all those things of the last 4 years.
So what do you do? What do you do if you hear this and you go, that's me? Like, how do you begin to change?
Well, I wrote my book about literally the bare ass minimum things to do. So I recorded a podcast myself this morning about the BAM of the BAM because people go, this is great, Jen. They're all good things, but what's the bottom line of the bottom line? and I was thinking about it, I thought, what are the not even a handful of things that I've done consistently since I burned out? Because it's not just get yourself out of the hole. It's then live from a place of prevention. The majority of the time, one is don't be a perfectionist. Do stuff 80% right. If you eat good, close to nature 80% of the time, you're good. I like ice cream. I like pizza and a beer on a Friday night, but you just don't do it all the time, okay? The biggest change I've made in my life the last 30-odd years since it happened was that I respect my sleep. Our adrenals need between 7 and 9 hours sleep a night to recharge. I want to make sure I'm recharging that cortisol overnight, okay? So especially if you're getting broken sleep, your cortisol's out of whack. So and you're having crappy menopause, just taking HRT and still sleeping like shit is not going to help. Go the step behind what's happening. And so I'm always, mind you, I get up at 4:30 to go surfing because I like to surf sunrise. But if you're in bed, so I go to bed I'm asleep by 9. But if it's like your adrenals recharge between 2 and 4 a.m. Every minute you're in bed before 10 p.m. is like bonus points. Because from about 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is the time of getting your body, your adrenals, your body systems ready to do that replenishing. Okay, so even if 5 nights a week, not 100% of the time, 5 nights a week, you went to bed by 10 p.m., that alone is going to bring a change. Yeah. All of a sudden, you'll be sleeping better. You'll wake up with more energy. How do you feel, Anne, when you have a good night's sleep? Do you cope better during the next day?
I had a great sleep last night. I didn't wake up to go to the bathroom. And I was just thinking when we were talking, I feel fantastic. I feel the way she's talking.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We cope better. We've got this window of tolerance, and for instance, if we have a good night's sleep, little stuff doesn't bite at us. Mm-hmm. But if we have a crappy sleep, every little thing is just like, fuck. And then you're spiking your cortisol every time that happens. Yeah. And you go to bed that night, cortisol's too high. It's meant to be 10% of what it was when you woke. It's too high. It wakes you up between 2 and 4 a.m. You have a crappy broken sleep again. And that's where people are on that perpetual stress loop. And so we've got to break the loop somewhere. So the book, I break it down. We say in Chinese medicine, good food, good rest, and good play. Okay, so if I think of good food, eat close to nature 80% of the time. Get rid of the refined and processed crappy sugars and shit. Makes sense. Bring in more good oils, more good omega-3 essential fatty acid. We have flaxseed oil every single day, my wife and I. We have a plant-based diet majority of the time. So you're allowed to eat meat if you choose, but if you're going to do that, stop eating the big, fancy, expensive, hey, we're going to brag that we've fed a cow grain. And it's to make it fatter and more flavoursome. and more inflammatory and toxic to your body. Go close to nature, which is grass-fed meat, the way it's meant to be. So, eat foods that are going to nourish your gut microbiome and digestive system. Kiwi fruit is one of my favorite fruits because, one, it's a really good prebiotic. Number two is that it contains the digestive enzymes that we need to help our upper gut work properly. So even just having a kiwi fruit a day can be a great addition. Just a boring old green kiwi fruit. You cut it, you eat it, because the enzymes diminish after about 20 minutes. Make sure you're having your water a day, 33 ml per kilo per day. That's it. So it's like I did a reel on my site, on my socials yesterday or the day before, and I said, people go, Jen, I can't drink that much water. I go, yeah, but if you were told you will die tomorrow, you would magically find the motivation to drink that much water. Most people need a glass an hour. That's it. Yeah. And so not big icy cold. Again, think your gut is like a great big crock pot. If you keep putting cold icy things in, you put the fire out in your belly. So have room temp or cool. Don't do the icy drinks all the time. So that's food, good rest, 7 to 9 hours sleep, every minute before 10 p.m., bonus points. And then good play. The thing that people forget to do is to play. People are so damn boring, and yet our adrenal glands need it. And 1% of our day is 15 minutes. Surely you can spend 1% of your day doing something fun. And I love my work. I love lecturing. I love all that kind of stuff. And I'll still go and play my ukulele. I'll just be really present and play with the dog. 1% of your day, you can do it. You can do it. It's really important to your sanity. And look, we need to meditate and do all those things too. But just think, good food, good rest, and good play. The majority of the time, 80% of the time, and you'll stay in that alkaline corridor more than you're out. And menopause and everything then your body can do its natural transitions.
Okay. What about the role of the liver? Because you've talked about the gut and the adrenals, and a lot of people around this time develop, now it's called a different acronym, but it was non-alcoholic fatty liver.
It's a fatty liver. Still a fatty liver.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fatty liver because a fatty liver doesn't eventuate overnight. A fatty liver is all the years that we abuse it, and it's with toxins. So the liver's job is to process toxins. Now, alcohol is still a toxin. I was a raging alcoholic in my 20s. I got sober at 26. You can still have a drink, but just know that, it's your body has to deal with it. And so fatty liver is a very real thing. So I'm in the book, I talk about fasting, but I talk about supported fasting. So, stuff becomes trendy. Like intermittent fasting. It's one of our processes that we prescribe as a naturopath. We talk about a rest day a week or a cleanse day a week. So it's a natural part of our thinking that you fast one day a week. However, it's always supported with herbs. So think about this. You're in the alkaline corridor. If you just don't eat, do you think it stresses your body or doesn't stress your body?
Well, probably stresses it, right? And that's probably what the opposition is to it.
Totally. It stresses your body and it chucks you outside the alkaline corridor and you're automatically spiking cortisol. Cortisol needs to be in balance. And so when we do cleansing, fasting, whatever you want to call it, we always prescribe adaptogen herbs with herbs to support our detoxifying body systems. We can't make your body detoxify. We can support your natural body's detoxifying body systems, but we pair them with adaptogens. Adaptogens are a class of herbs that help your body adapt to stress. So, and it's frustrating as a pracky that I see people just eating ashwagandha gummies and stuff. And it's like a naturopath never prescribes one herb on its own because we're not one body system. We're a body of body systems. So just treating your liver because you've got fatty liver, not treating the stress, which is that toxin in itself, and not repairing gut and all those things, doesn't fix it. Same as like thyroid. Women have got low thyroid, and that shows up more as we start to age as well. I ended up with Hashimoto's when I burned out, which is just low thyroid. Your adrenal glands tells your thyroid what to do, and it tells your reproductive system what to do. So just taking thyroxine or a drug to kind of sort of not really, but they think tell it to work properly and do nothing to fix the fact that you're taxing your adrenal glands, you're just digging a bigger hole for yourself. So all the body, we need to get our body to adapt to stress. So I'm a big fan of herbal medicine. Adaptogens are a class of herbs. Don't just take one herb on its own. And people forget things like our skin. The skin is the biggest detoxifying organ we have. Drink your water, support your skin to be able to sweat and detox properly. Shed it. We shed all our cells every 28 days.
Yeah.
Skin brushing and things to help all those natural processes work easier. That all helps things like a fatty liver or just a body that's under stress. And I'm not perfect. Holy shit, I'm nowhere near perfect, Anne. But and I had to undo a lot of stuff that I did when I was younger. But that window of wellness is always open. So it doesn't matter where we're at, age-wise, anything-wise, damage-wise, we can always improve and keep heading in the right direction as we age.
So surely that the mainstream medical system doesn't even recognize adrenal burnout or adrenal dysfunction. I see articles still, is adrenal dysfunction real? I had a conversation with an OB-GYN on social media when I first started out and said, I had adrenal dysfunction. It is real. And she said, I can explain this to you. And I remember thinking, explain what? The thing that I had didn't happen? I just don't. But
it did happen.
Yeah.
It's very real.
Do you? Because to me, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, although maybe a little bit, but it feels like if you acknowledge that this is real, then you can also acknowledge that all of this can help it. And then you're not going to have any of the problems that feed. I don't know.
Not a conspiracy theorist, but it's interesting that so much of what we do can just be brought back into balance with a simple life. Eating close to nature. Back in the day, you'd go to sleep at sunset and wake up at sunrise. That is so good for us. Nowadays, we'll sit scrolling and then wonder why we can't go to sleep. It's like, and then have to get a sleeping tablet or something. God, I can't sleep. Yeah, what's your lifestyle? What's your sleep hygiene like? Shit. Oh, yeah, but just give me the tablet because I don't want to change my routine of sitting up and being brainless at night. Look, there's layers and layers and layers. Like I said, I'm an incredibly realistic naturopath. I want women to thrive. I really want women to thrive. People in general have got no idea how good they can feel, how much energy they can have, how I feel so good. It's stupid. And it's the way it's meant to be. And people will say, Jen, I want what you've got. And I'll say, great. Eat close to nature 80% of the time. Drink your water. Go to bed 5 nights a week before 10 p.m. No, it's not rocket science. And most of the shit's free. And they go, I don't do that. Okay, feel free to keep having your 5 cups of coffee a day and you will have a shitty menopause. So, to what to do in advance, the closer we stick to nature, the earlier, the quicker we turn things around at 80% of the time.
So a lot of people haven't done that, right? And they hit their point and it's like they don't know whether they're coming or going. Where do you feel about the hormone therapy conversation in the middle of all this? Because it is being positioned as the answer. And I think it can be an answer for people. I don't know. Where does that fit in for you?
I'm not a fan of it. I'm just not. I'm also an incredibly realistic naturopath. Same if someone is in a mental health state that they need medical support and they're getting, some other kind of counseling or therapy as well, I'm realistic for them to take it, take medication for, 1 or 2 or 3 blood cycles. A blood cycle is 3 months to help support them. But however, be at the same time setting up a plan of wellness for the future. So if you chose to do a hormone replacement therapy or something like that, I would be doing everything I could to get my adrenals happy and creating a lifestyle plan that I know I can age strong, fit, and healthy without having that medical intervention, because I know damn well it's not. And I know that's going to really piss off some of the listeners because it's easier. We don't have to take responsibility for ourselves, or we can just go, no, I just need the doctor. And the doctor, the all-knowing doctor, I worked in the pharmacy industry. The pharmacists are more respected than doctors. And it's like, I get it. There's this godlike thing, but they said it's good for me. It's all good. Well, yeah, there's, we are our own person. And a lot of people don't want to do the things that I want to do to stay well. I'm all about health span, not lifespan. I want to age well. In my 60s, as I am now, this is the time that people are usually getting for real degenerative diseases. It cracks me up. I'm on no medication. And the doctors are, cholesterol, excellent. Heart, excellent. Everything, excellent. It's the way it's meant to be. And so I don't give money to the drug companies. But I do the things, the mundane stuff day in, day out. 5 nights a week, I go to bed early. I eat my good food the majority of the time. I drink the water. I manage my stress in advance. And that window of wellness is always open. So we can, even if you've been on meds for a certain amount of time, get some good advice from a great practitioner and create an exit plan if you choose. And will it take a bit of discipline to run a few different lifestyle things? Yes. Is it worth it? I want to be screaming, have the best life all the way in. And then and then the body goes, in my late 90s, I'll surf that morning and it goes, Jen, you can go to sleep tonight and I'm done. But I've been strong, fit and healthy all the way through.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I watched my mum die in her 80s. It's shit. Her last years. There's no way in the world I'll have that life. And it's worth doing the stuff today. We don't have to let the old lady in. That's bullshit. We're told this story that menopause is meant to be crap. Problems only happen in the Western world. Interesting. In all the ethnic cultures, they don't get all the problems we do. Why? Because they live close to nature the majority of the time. That's interesting. That should be a red flag for people. We don't have to buy into the old lady story that, you're in your 60s. Oh, yeah, I won't be able to walk as much or I won't be able to do this as much. Bullshit.
Well, also,
if you sit and play old lady, you'll be an old lady.
Yeah. The other thing that gets my dander up is I just feel like the bar keeps being moved for us. And so now it's you have to eat these incredible amounts of protein and you have to lift these incredible amounts of weights. And I just have the same feeling I did in my 30s, except I'm more knowledgeable about why I feel that way. Someone's telling me, someone's just said, oh, you got here, you have to come here. And you're making it so simple. I love it. What do you also say? The sovereign of simplifying?
Sovereign of simplicity. Yeah.
Sovereign of simplicity.
We're so confused. And there's so much information out there. And now everyone's a bloody expert. A 30-year-old kid telling me about menopause, I think, you're nowhere near me. You don't know the body yet. No, could have all the academic training and none of the life experience to give the reality of what it is to create a postmenopausal body.
Yeah.
It's all huge. So I think people are overwhelmed, and when we're in overwhelm, we do nothing. And then they'll do the quick, easy, I'm outside the corridor, give me that Band-Aid. I'm a big fan of women having 100 grams of protein a day. But I surf, I walk, and I do Pilates. It's all body strength exercise.
Okay. Oh, amazing. Pilates. Okay, yeah. So your perimenopause was no big deal, but how about
49 period left?
Just done. Did your periods just kind of or
no, they were probably from about 47 for about 2 years before. They came down to about bleeding 1 day a week.
Mm-hmm.
1 day a week, one day a month. So they were kind of just patchy. And I'd had the nasty heavy bleeding. I'd had all that. I remember bleeding on the school chairs at school. You'd hop up at school and there's a puddle of blood on the chair. Not good as a teenager. Not a good experience. I remember all those days. When I was 49 of January, I had a good bleed and then it disappeared. 9 months later, it came back for a day and it disappeared. And that was it. So then we measure menopause is the day that we stop, a year later than we stop bleeding. So I was menopausal a year after, in my 50s. I hit that day that I hadn't bled for a year. Every woman is either premenopausal, as in perimenopausal, or we're postmenopausal. Because menopause is 1 day. It's that 1 day. Yay, I don't bleed anymore. And it's liberating. And you think it's cool. I love seeing the spark in you in your 50s. I remember when I hit 40, I think, fuck, it's good to be, the worrying about what people think about your stuff, all that stuff in your 30s, and thought 40s is good. 50s is yeah, it's all right. 60s is fucking epic. And I can't wait for my 70s and 80s. It's liberating. There's something energetically that changes with us. as we are that postmenopausal, if you own the being the crone, gosh, it's a cool time of life. I love it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that spiritual sort of soul part of it. Did you have any? Yeah.
I remember. Okay, so when I learned about the crone and everything, when I was in my 20s, early 30s, studying naturopathy, I remember when my mum hit, so I was 30 when mum hit 50. I sent her a card and said, "Oh, congratulations, you're the crone, and I'm so excited for you." And she got so offended because in our Western culture, it's like, "You old crony, you old hag." And I'm going, no, like, you're the wise woman. It is so good, Mum. Anyway, she never embraced that. So as I was coming towards this time, and then when I got in my early 50s, I really started, reading more and delving more into it and really exploring it, and did some rites of passages and did lots of stuff. Calling, come on, crone, come in. I was trying to call in my wise woman. It was really interesting. And I did a lot of work for years, and I realized it's just there in us, and it's about going inside and just owning that we are a life full of experiences. And I really believe part of it's not in our culture, it's not in the Western culture, but you go to any of the indigenous or ethnic cultures, and the wise woman, the matriarch, is the most respected. I run a charity in Thailand, and I see dickhead teenage boys, just when the matriarch of the village speaks, they really listen, not out of fear of anything, but out of true respect, because they get that she's the wise one. And it's not in our culture, and it can be in our culture. And I think more than ever, it's time for the perimenopausal women to start getting ready to stand up, and for the postmenopausal women we want some change in the world. This is it. It's the divine feminine, and the caring subtleness is a bigger strength than any hard-ass, violent, masculine energy. And it's not male, female. It's not that. We all have masculine and feminine in us, but that divine feminine is pretty awesome. And when you really let it develop in you, I could cry. It's fucking magical. It's the best time of your life. Please don't be scared of this time. It is the best, but embrace it. It's a natural transition in life, and I love it. I love being a woman of this age. I really do. I have to wet my eyes. My eyes are leaking.
I love it. I have something in both my eyes, Jen. That's how I feel. Oh, that's
beautiful. It really is. Who's trying to lead women in fear about this?
Mm-hmm. Women who are scared.
Look at what's sitting
women who
behind
are scared, right? Like a lot of it is women who are scared, I feel. And I have.
Well, you can be controlled. When you're in fear, you can be controlled. When you're in love, you can't be controlled. Those are just a thought.
Those are beautiful words to end on. Thank you so much. I will continue to follow your common sense, wise, bare ass minimum. Love it. We need the bare ass minimum. If you're floundering,
we do.
Jen's bare ass minimum. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you in 10 years' time.
You'll be flying. Maybe I'll learn to surf. I surfed once, so maybe I'll learn to surf. I surfed once and it was beautiful in Hawaii.
It is. You have to be one with nature. You can't think of other shit. You have to just be there, so present. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Thank you.
Hot Flash Inc. was created and is hosted by Anne-Marie McQueen, produced and edited by Sonia Mack. The information contained in this podcast is intended for informational purposes only and is not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, treating, curing, or preventing any disease. Before using any products referenced on the podcast, consult with your healthcare provider, read all labels, and heed all directions and cautions that accompany the products. Information received through the podcast should not be used in place of a consultation or advice from a healthcare provider. If you suspect you have a medical problem, i.e. menopause or anything else, or any healthcare questions, please promptly see your healthcare provider. This podcast, including Anne-Marie McQueen and any producers or editors, disclaim any responsibility from any possible adverse effects from the use of any information contained herein. Opinions of guests on this podcast are their own, and the podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about a guest's qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. This podcast is owned by Hot Flash Inc. Media.